Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. We kick off today with another reminder of just how fast things are changing. Claude Code, this platform that has become so integral to the changing of the world and the shift in how business gets done, is just 1 year old. In fact, this weekend, Anthropic threw it a first birthday party to celebrate. There was clearly something in the air in February of last year. At the beginning of the month, Andre Karpathy coined the term vibe coding, and it was a capability set that had clearly just started to come into its own with the latest generation of models. At the time, agentic coding was still seen as something of a fascination. It was something quirky that might help non-technical people build some fun, personal apps, but was very clearly too unreliable to be used in production environments. Fast forward just a year, and on any given day on this show, you're going to hear about the extent to which agentic coding is disrupting not only the software industry, but also infiltrating other areas of work as well. For Anthropic, Claude Code has fundamentally changed the destiny of the company. What started as a side project for developer Boris Cherny has become the central pillar of their strategy. Not only is Claude Code generating $2.5 billion in ARR, it's also being used to code its own upgrades and develop new products at a staggering pace. In a recent interview, Cherny recalled the early weeks of internal release. He said, "I remember Dario asking hey, are you forcing engineers to use this? Why is everyone using it?" Cherny responded that all he needed to do was make it available and everyone voted with their feet. The same distribution method is working for developers the world over. Anthropic's recent analysis of their API figures found that almost half of all tool calls are related to software engineering. In other words, AI coding is the biggest use case for Anthropic's models, and it's not close. What's more, Claude Code transformed the AI industry. It completely eliminated the argument that AI is just fancy autocomplete or a better version of Google. Watching the changes happen from inside, Boris believes this is a fundamental phase shift for software engineering. In a recent interview, he commented, "Continuing to trace the exponential, I think what will happen is coding will be generally solved for everyone. Today, coding is practically solved for me, and I think it will be the case for everyone regardless of domain." So happy birthday to Claude Code, 1 year in, and it already changed the world. Now, changes in the world are rarely simple. In fact, they are more often chaotic and even violent. On that front, Anthropic's new security tool sent cybersecurity stocks into a tailspin last week, raising new questions about the software selloff. On Thursday, Anthropic unveiled Claude Code Security, another new plugin to extend the tool's capabilities. Anthropic said the feature scans code bases for security vulnerabilities and suggests patches, allowing developers to find and fix security issues that traditional methods often miss. Their phrasing, obviously. Friday's market action saw cybersecurity stocks decimated. These companies had so far been resistant to the broader software sell-off, with the First Trust Cybersecurity Index losing 11% over the past 6 months, compared to 24% for other software indices. Friday alone, however, saw CrowdStrike lose 8%, Okta lose 9%, and Cloudflare lose 7%. Many were totally incredulous, with Kenton Varda, a tech lead for Cloudflare, posting, "Lol at investors who think all forms of security are fungible, and so the release of Claude Code Security, a tool for finding security bugs in your code, means Okta, CrowdStrike, and others should lose 5% of their stock value." Now, of course, a big part of the pushback during the software sell-off has been that even if companies can theoretically vibe code their own SaaS products, few want to take on the task of maintaining and supporting internal software. One might imagine that this goes double for cybersecurity, which adds a ton of insurance and liability issues on top. In this case, and this is the point that Kenton was making, the features of Claude Code Security don't even overlap with the products offered by these firms. What was released by Anthropic is only designed to audit and monitor internal code for vulnerabilities. Cloudflare and CrowdStrike largely provide security for customer-facing services, preventing downtime from internet-based cyber attacks, and the Okta drawdown is even more puzzling, given that they provide two-factor authentication services. Anthropic didn't even hint at anything regarding any of these aspects of cybersecurity. Still, while it might be easy to dismiss this as irrational markets acting irrationally, for investors there's a lot of signal in how this crash is playing out. Dennis Dick of Triple D Trading said, "There's been a steady selling in software, and today it's security that's getting a mini flash crash on a headline. This kind of market is scary for investors because things are just moving relentlessly to the downside as soon as you get a hint of disruption. It's rational to be cautious because people were saying a while ago that the software drop was overdone, and yet it keeps going down." Buco Capital put the logic in even more fundamental terms, writing, "I think it's fine to sell Cloudflare and CrowdStrike actually, even if the Anthropic news doesn't impact them today, because maybe you shouldn't pay 25x revenue when the landscape is shifting this quickly." This is sort of the closest to my take very broadly defined, which is that even if, yes, it does seem like almost all of these moves are overblown in the short term and the catalysts don't really warrant them, I don't think that they're really about the specific catalysts. I think that they are very clearly part of a broader based repricing going on right now that's about exactly what Buco is talking about here, a question of how to value software when it is changing so quickly. Neither I nor the market knows where things are going to land and where they're going to feel comfortable, and so until that reset point is hit, if it even can be, you're just going to see a lot of these weird moments like this. Still, Say Sassy thought that Anthropic could make better use of their newfound power to crash markets, asking, can Anthropic publish a blog post about how they're going to replace 4-bed, 4.5-bath homes in walkable neighborhoods with good schools? Now, if you were tracking the model releases over the last week or so, you've probably noticed that Google, Anthropic, and xAI have all thrown new models onto the pile. That means, of course, that it's just about time for the next frontier model from OpenAI. Now, rumors about this one have been coming for a little while. This is the model known as Garlic internally, which was the main focus of Sam Altman's Code Red push, which began in December. We've been hearing this is coming every week for a few weeks now, with the latest rumor being that GPT 5.3, aka Garlic, will be released on Thursday. We, of course, already got the coding-focused version, GPT 5.3 Codex, at the beginning of the month, with that model bumping up the coding benchmarks, being competitive if not ahead of Opus 4.6, which released on the same day. At the same time, it also improved on reasoning benchmarks, suggesting there is much to be transferred over to the core version of GPT 5.3. Covering the rumors, AI engineer Dan Mack wrote, it surpasses human baseline on simple bench of 83.7%. In fact, it blows every previous model out of the water on all non-coding benchmarks. Word has it, it is a huge leap, a GPT-3 to GPT-4 moment again. OpenAI has long had the best reinforcement learning pipeline, which makes sense since they were the first lab to train LLMs for inference time reasoning using RL with O1. Now they've got their mojo back when it comes to pre-training too. Public comments from Sam Altman also point in the direction of major progress. This could be the big one. It may be deserving of a major version bump. AI rumor account I Rule the World added their take, saying, just heard from separate sources that this is accurate. This feels like what we expected from the initial GPT-5 release. Expect it quicker, smarter, video and audio in. Start preparing for a big week. They've hidden just how much progress they've made. For those tracking out there, I think there are two very separate things. One, whether we're going to get a model this week, and two, how big a deal it is. I would anticipate that even if it is a big change, I would be very surprised if it was named anything other than 5.3, given how burned OpenAI has been in the past with more bigger jump naming conventions. Staying in OpenAI land for a minute, a new financial forecast from the company suggests surging revenue alongside rapidly escalating costs. The information got their hands on the latest set of projections handed to OpenAI investors. The company is now forecasting $282.5 billion in revenue by 2030, a 27% jump from their previous round of projections. For context, that would put them ahead of where Meta is currently, and implies roughly 100% revenue growth in each of the next 3 years, followed by 2 years of around 55% growth. OpenAI expects this year's revenue to come in at $30.1 billion, more than doubling 2025's total. They anticipate another doubling in 2027 to reach $62 billion. And yet, OpenAI also doubled their forecast for cash burn, reaching a peak of $85 billion in 2028 and a total of $665 billion over the next 5 years. They still expect to reach profitability by 2030, but they are anticipating much greater costs along the way. One big part of the adjusted figures was spiraling inference costs in 2025. OpenAI said that the cost to serve their models quadrupled over the past year, causing a compression in gross margins. Margins fell from 40% in 2024 to 33% in 2025. Interestingly, OpenAI had originally forecast margin expansion for 2025, expecting model efficiency to boost margins to 46%. They lowered margin expectations across the 5-year forecast as a result, but are still forecasting margin expansion each year. While inference costs are expected to rise to $14 billion this year, model training is expected to quadruple to $32 billion. Training costs for 2027 are expected to double again to reach $65 billion, which is $44 billion more than forecast last summer. In total, OpenAI expects to spend $440 billion on model training through 2030. The financial presentation also included some user metrics, which came in a little soft due to increased competition from Anthropic and Google last year. Weekly active ChatGPT users are now at 910 million, falling short of the billion user target for 2025. OpenAI leaders pointed to a slowdown around the release of GPT-5 as one of the major stumbles for user growth last year, which of course led to the code red being declared in December. Now, of course, last week we got this chart from Epic suggesting that Anthropic could overtake OpenAI in revenue as early as this year, which maybe goes away to explaining why Dario and Sam wouldn't hold hands in India last week. One more little OpenAI update. The company's device plans are coming into focus with several new details, including pricing. One of the interesting tidbits from OpenAI's financials was a forecast that hardware sales will contribute $1.3 billion in revenue next year. To achieve that, OpenAI will need to actually bring their AI devices to market, and according to some new reporting, they seem to be well on their way. The information again reports that a team of 200 people is now working on OpenAI's family of devices. Sources said the family includes a smart speaker and possibly smart glasses and a smart lamp. Notably absent from the reporting was the behind-the-ear capsule-shaped device said to carry the codename Sweet Pea. The smart speaker is reportedly going to be the first device released by OpenAI and will be priced between $200 and $300. Amazon Echo smart speakers are currently priced between $50 and $220, so the OpenAI device would be competing at the top end of the market. Sources said the speaker will be equipped with a camera, allowing it to draw context from its immediate surroundings, and also said that the camera would allow people to use facial recognition to approve purchases. None of the devices will feature a screen of any kind. No new reporting on a timeline for the smart speaker, though previous reporting suggested we won't see the first OpenAI device until early next year. The smart glasses, meanwhile, are expected to be released in 2028 at the earliest. Prototypes are said to be available inside the company, with the smart lamp specifically mentioned. Sources emphasize that design is still in early stages across the board, so feature details aren't set in stone. One interesting little tidbit is that the device is being designed at a separate office away from OpenAI's headquarters, and some at OpenAI have complained that Johnny Ive's design studio, Lovefrom, is slow to revise the designs and shares few details with the main organization. This is, of course, similar to Apple's design culture, where early details of new devices are shared on a need-to-know basis. Given that every week we get new form factors, I would say at this stage, what you should assume is that basically every object and device that you interact with in the real world is probably going to be tested for its capability to become an AI device before we actually get the final OpenAI product. With that, though, we end the headlines. Next up, the main episode.